Night is for you. We're celebrating you. You're starting your career in the NFL.
Picked up a football when I was 6 years old, and I've been chasing that dream ever since.
It's just a dream that I've had since I was 4 years old.
Even announcing it in my mirror in the bathroom.
We're the first pick.
Hold on to your dream.
This is really a dream come true.
Sky's the limit, man. I can't wait.
Hold on to your dream.
The threat of a home run every time he touches it.
Sacked by the best in the biz. You're looking at the best wide receiver in college football.
Diving, that's where he won the Heisman Trophy.
Hold on to your dream.
You know what that music means. The NFL Draft 2 days away. Our own NFL Draft expert, Mel Kiper Jr., released his final big board this morning. Kiper has Fernando Mendoza, of course, going number 1, or the best player in the draft, if you will. Jeremiah Love and Arvell Reese as his top 3 prospects. Again, the draft begins on Thursday from Pittsburgh. Peter Schrager joins us now. A lot of big boards, a lot of mock drafts. I've seen you making some noise, too, with some of your predictions. Who's the most intriguing player in this draft?
I think you saw in that opening montage. Jordyn Tyson, to me, is the most intriguing player in this NFL draft. Premier position, wide receiver, and a premier player. The issue or the red flag has been an unfortunate circumstance of injuries. However, none of his injuries are tied to each other. He had an ACL, his first big injury. He had a collarbone, his second big injury. Then he had a hamstring. Now, I understand no one likes seeing 3 separate major injuries in a college football career. It's usually not a great sign for a player's pro career. But Tyson, when healthy, was the best wide receiver in this draft class and arguably the most dynamic offensive player in college football. He also saved his biggest moments for the biggest games for Arizona State over the last 2 years. I look at this draft, which is very strong at some non-value positions. By that, I mean a running back where free agent running backs don't get paid, an inside linebacker in Sonny Styles where that doesn't usually get paid, and a safety in Caleb Downs where safeties usually don't get paid. And I say, okay, those are non-premier positions. Jordyn Tyson plays wide receiver. Alec Pierce, a free agent wide receiver from the Indianapolis Colts, made $27 million this year in free agency. Kenneth Walker, the Super Bowl MVP, made $14 million. All this is to say, premier position, premier player. Which team has the gumption to say, you know what, we know there's some injury history. We're going to put our name on it. And I think it can go as high as number 5 to the New York Giants. I genuinely feel that. And if not 5 to the Giants, I look at teams like the Commanders at 7, the Saints at 8, the Chiefs at 9, and the Giants again at 10. All very in play for Jordyn Tyson, a player that some GMs say, not my guy. I'll stay away.
Aren't there enough receivers in this draft? And I realize, Peter, and I've heard you talk about this all week, a lot of B-plus players, depth, but not stars at the top of it. Aren't there enough receivers in this draft that you can minimize risk? You can still get the second, third, fourth, fifth best wide receiver in this draft on that board and be pretty happy where you are without having to take on the injury risk, because that's a lot of injury history to take on.
Played 4 years in college, played 17 games. That is not a huge sample size. And he missed it with real injuries. Those are real injuries. I would say this. The Carnell Tate, Jordyn Tyson conversation, that's a real one. Tate, not a Blazer, but unbelievable and a true performer. It's never number 1 at Ohio State. And that's because Jeremiah Smith was on the other side. Jordyn Tyson has all those qualities of, like, he could potentially be one of the top guys. Mekhi Lemon won the Biletnikoff, tough as nails compared to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's 5'11". Tyson has the build, the tape, and the actual production. It's just the injury history. So to your point, yes, you can take another wide receiver, but if he does stay healthy, and that was just coincidence or it was just unfortunate luck that he had those 3 separate injuries, you might be kicking yourself that you took someone else over him who has a total package.
But the Giants have had injury issues on the offensive side of the ball. They also need some big help, especially after the Dexter Lawrence trade. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you want to really risk that again. For you, most intriguing player.
Jeremiah Love, for a lot of reasons. One, the talent alone. But we have entered this space and time where the league has said, even though there's a bounce back the last few years, the league has said, we don't know if there's that value. And I'm like, when you are, people use the word weapon because he seems to be as good a receiver as you can find at that position and as good as some receivers speaking of, we just talked about with the receivers being B+. Jordan Love, if you're a franchise like the Arizona Cardinals, and it's not just strategic decision you're making in the draft, the Arizona Cardinals have just been flat. What have they been since the retirement of a Hall of Fame to be wide receiver?
Fitzgerald, you're going all the way back.
Okay, but I'm just saying it's been, and when you, by the way, because Larry's still around town and at games and at things publicly in Arizona, you're thinking, oh my God, this franchise is just falling flat. We've taken a quarterback, now he's in Minnesota. They need something that is also an emotional connection. First of all, you're getting a great player, so it's not like we're sacrificing that. Great player, we can agree on that. Right, Peter?
Yeah, I mean,
you're getting a great player, and you're getting somebody who can be the face, the heart, and soul of your franchise, and you're on the board. You're right there. I understand trading down. I get it. I'm not so sure I can disagree completely with the notion of where running backs are in terms of value, particularly in the economic structure of 2026. But if you're the Cardinals and he comes back to be wherever he lands as this great player who for 5 or 6 seasons is near the top or at the top rushing, he's a guy who catches 60 passes a year. He's your bell cow.
he's that guy.
Then I don't know that you should be passing on him if you're the Cardinals.
And I would imagine from a tickets, jerseys, buzz in the desert, I would imagine Jeremiah Love makes
Pittsburgh. To get us caught up on the very latest, we welcome in our NFL insider, Jeremy Fowler, who joins us now. All right, Jeremy, the Steelers were hoping to have some clarity before draft day on Aaron Rodgers, but they're still waiting on a decision. Let's run through some potential returns around the league and how it could impact the draft, starting with Rodgers and the Steelers.
Yeah, Christina, the Steelers have their draft plan set. Whether Aaron Rodgers signs this week or not, which is unlikely at this point, they have done a ton of homework on these mid-round draft quarterbacks like LSU's Garrett Nussmeier, Alabama's Ty Simpson if he were to fall into the second round, Carson Beck out of Miami. So they've looked at a lot of these guys just in case. They have Will Howard from last year's draft that they really like and trust. They feel like he can run some of these off-season workouts. So whenever Rodgers does sign, even if it's closer to June or minicamp, they feel like Howard is there, and they feel like they're still in a good spot with Rodgers, despite no clarity. Now you got the Giants. Odell Beckham, an old friend, paying a visit to the Giants in New Jersey, was visiting with the team yesterday. I was told it was exploratory, that they got a physical, wanted to make sure his health is okay, visit with him, see where he's at. Here's a bit of the problem with Beckham potentially fitting in. They already have a 3-receiver set with Malik Neighbors, Darnell Mooney, Darius Slayton, and they very well could draft a wide receiver high. The belief around the league right now is they have their eyes set on Jordyn Tyson out of Arizona State. The Giants coaches in particular really like Tyson.
All right, it could be a 2014 throwback if we see OBJ back with the Giants. Jeremy, what are you hearing about where Notre Dame running back Jeremiah Love, though, could be selected?
Well, I can count to 3, 4, and 5, and those are all 3 realistic spots for Jeremiah Love in this draft. The New York Jets are expected to take a pass rusher, but after that, the Cardinals are on the clock. The Cardinals want to trade out of the 3 spot. That's the belief from many teams I've talked to. But if they can't, Jeremiah Love is probably their best value pick and best player. So we'll see if they actually pull the trigger on that. They do like the player a lot. If he gets to 4, he'll be in consideration with Tennessee, which is also looking at some defensive options potentially, like linebacker Sonny Styles. If Love gets to 5, I'm told that the Giants have a very high grade on him. Certainly they will be tempted to take him there. So he's expected to be a high pick. I don't expect him to fall out of that top 5 range right now as we stand.
All right, high pick, high numbers for Love with his 40 scrimmage touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. That was 7 more than any other FBS player. Jeremy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And new on SportsCenter this morning, Mel Kiper's final big board is out. Love is ranked 2nd on Mel's board. Hate not ranked number 1. That would be Heisman winner Fernando Mendoza. Mel has 4 Buckeyes in the top 8 of his board. The NFL Draft Thursday night on ESPN, ABC, and the NFL Network. And the next SportsCenter